Hey YouTube, today's video will be on the installation of front and rear Sumo springs on a 2007 Winnebago Itasca Navion 23H Class C motorhome. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, today we're going to replace the original bump stops on this 2007 Winnebago RV. It's the original bump stops. Let's see if I can point them out to you here. This is the original bump stop right here. It's kind of hard to see. And I'm going to replace it with this new Sumo spring. It's a pretty easy job. Okay, so I'm going to need to jack up the front end of this. So far I've taken the nut off and the bump stop is loose. I'm just going to need to jack up the front end to get some clearance to remove the old bump stop and to install the new one. So it's going to take me a few minutes and I'll be back in just a second once I get the front end jacked up. Okay, maybe a little bit hard to see, but I have a set of levelers down below. I have an electric hydraulic jack, a 3-ton electric hydraulic jack. It's placed right up against the frame. And I'm going to jack this frame up and get this sucker off the ground. Here we go. There's the old bump stop. I've got the right front bump stop out. It was really that simple. Just take the nut off the top of this old bump stop, jack it up a little bit, and it popped right out. In order to tighten that nut, I think we're going to need to drop the front end down and close the clearance and hold this spring from spinning. So let me drop the front end down now. It's going to get a little loud. Let's see how that works. See if that's tight enough to keep it from spinning. Now, mind you, I'm doing all this without taking the front tire off. And it's spinning, so I'm going to have to let it down a little bit more. That's all the way. Okay. Okie dokie. I'm back. I got it all in and tightened up. I had to remove the camera for a second because it was getting in the way. Just wasn't enough clearance with this tire on here to get in there and tighten it down. I had to insert a screwdriver underneath the upper control arm and just to wedge against the top of the Sumo spring to prevent it from spinning while I tighten down this nut up here. It was actually pretty easy, but took a couple extra hands to do. So far I've been able to take the old bump stop off, jack up the front end just a little bit, maybe 4 or 5 inches, remove the old bump stop, install the new Sumo spring, and tighten it down without removing the front tire. So now we're going to move on to the left side. Okay,
And just for the sake of comparison, I have the old bump stop on the right compared to the new Sumo spring on the left. The right side of my Sprinter is done. I'm moving on to the left side, but I just thought I'd take a second and show you what the difference is. This is the old bump stop, and this is the new Sumo spring. You can see it's probably about, I'm going to say, if you can see the difference in installation height, which is about maybe half an inch. The old bump stop, there was about a half an inch gap, air gap, between the lower control arm and the bump stop itself. And the new Sumo spring will take up that air gap, and the bottom will actually touch the lower control arm, so hopefully that'll reduce some of the roll and lean. So that's the difference. They have a little different mounting up top by the threaded rod with a nut. That's exactly the same, but you got this sort of collar on the top of the Sumo spring where it's flat on the bump stop. It looks odd, but I checked the directions and installation instructions, and that's exactly what it's supposed to look like, so that's what I'm going with. Okay, that's what the visual differences are in terms of the original bump stop and the Sumo spring.
And here we are onto the driver's side, or the right or the left side, left front. I'm going to remove this bump stop. It's really hard to see. This tie rod is in the way, and this is the bump stop. Now my hand is in the way, so it's really tight quarters in here. You can't see any of this stuff, but that's the original bump stop, and that's the nut right up there. I'm going to take off. I'm going to jack it up, pull out the old bump stop, put in the new Sumo spring, and be done with this. So stay tuned. So here we are back. The left side is installed. Got the nut nice and tight. You can see it right there. And we'll let it back down off the jack. And I guess I figured while I was here making a video of installing the front Sumo springs, I should give you just a little information about the rear Sumo springs. I've already replaced them. They're installed. Bump stops were very, very simple to take out, and I know there's a couple lines in the way showing you this Sumo spring, but let me see if I can get this line out of the way. That's the Sumo spring right there, that black block. The original bump stop was maybe half height. They're very simple to remove. Basically a screwdriver, and you pop out the original bump stop. Just give it a quick pop and a pry, and it pops right out. The new Sumo springs just slide right in, and then you kind of give them a whack with a screwdriver and they pop right in. Literally like 10 minutes each. You do have to jack up the rear of the coach to get enough clearance to get the new Sumo springs in. And you can see they actually sit right up against the top of the rear differential housing, and they make a huge difference in terms of the sway. So I just wanted to give you an update. This is what the rear springs look like. They're black blocks, at least for my coach. They're super simple to install. It took about 15 minutes on each side. The only tool I needed was a screwdriver. So that's an update on rear Sumo springs. Okay, we installed the front and rear Sumo springs. We're going to head out for a test drive and see how we did. Here we go. So good with the new Sumo springs. We're just taking it up to highway speeds. We're going up a pretty steep hill right now, so we're not really flying. We're doing about 40, 45, about to hit 50. But we'll give it a few minutes and drive around some of these surface roads and see how these Sumo springs do. Go for it.
far so good. I can tell you the rear Sumo springs took a significant amount of the roll and lean out of the suspension. I put those on first and took it for a bit of a ride. Took it out for a weekend on a camping trip. They made a noticeable difference. They didn't take all the lean out and all the roll out, all the sway out, but it was noticeable. Noticeable improvement without any significant harshness or increase in harshness in the suspension or the ride itself. This test drive is actually with both the rear and now I just installed the front Sumo springs. And I would say there's another incremental improvement with the additional front Sumo springs. I would also say it probably isn't as significant as the improvement from adding the rear Sumo springs. That's probably the best way I can say it or describe it. Okay, I just got back from my test drive after installing my front Sumo springs, and my summary is noticeable improvement. Not quite as a significant improvement as I had when I replaced the rear Sumo springs, but it is noticeable. There's a noticeable reduction in the amount of lean when you go around turns, but it's not as significant as the rear springs, but it's noticeable. So overall, I think for the investment and the ease of installation, they were both super simple to install with just a few simple tools. I had to jack up the rear wheels to do the rear Sumo springs, and a screwdriver popped the springs in and out. In the front, I didn't even jack I did have to jack the suspension up to the front suspension up to get enough clearance to install the Sumo springs up front. But that was super simple. And again, just some simple hand tools, and both springs installed very, very easily. I would say an hour to do all four at the max. No increased harshness in the ride at all. Overall, I would say 2 thumbs up for Sumo springs. Thanks for watching my video on how to install front and rear Sumo springs. If you're interested in watching any further videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.